We are now joined by Brother Eric Bashir. We will have a discussion about a graphic novel that he has just completed. The title of the novel is Badin and the Secret of the Saami. Welcome, Brother Bashir, to Adhan. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor having you here. Please tell us about the book.
Badin and the Secret of the Saami is a historical fiction graphic novel. And the main character and many of the supporting characters are based on real historical figures in 18th century Swedish history. What makes Badin unique is that he is an African man. And as a child, in real history, he was a slave in St. Croix, it is believed, in the Caribbean. And he was given as a gift to the Swedish queen, Lovisa Ulrika, in the 1750s. At that time, the Swedish people were going through somewhat of an enlightenment of looking into science, studying the sciences, and the Swedish queen in particular was very much interested in finding out where the truth is in philosophy and science and art. And of course, at that time, blacks were said to be savages and inferior human beings. So the queen, not satisfied with that, said, well, if he's so savage, I am going to give him the same education and raise him as one of my own. And she adopted him as her son. And he grew up with her children, and they pretty much, here is a young African child getting a education that even no average Swedish child would ever get. And he became eventually growing up to be her most trusted confidant. And on her deathbed, she had called for him and told him to get her personal papers and to destroy them because she did not want her son, who was the king at the time, to have them. And I was intrigued by this man, and a friend of mine said, you got to look this person up. And I got his diary. It's in Swedish and French from the University of Uppsala in Sweden. And it was all obviously not in English. It had to be translated. So about over a year ago, we ran a Kickstarter campaign to translate this diary. And it was successful. And now Badin's diary, the real Badin, the historical Badin, his diary is now free online for people to access. I did not like, and I do not like, how blacks in the 18th century or even today are often stereotyped as inferior or savages. And I decided to turn things on their head and create and write this graphic novel, Badin and the Secret of the Saami. And we have a website, if I can name it, it's badinsecret.com. That's BADIN, secret.com. And this story is all about how he saves the future of humanity. Starting in Sweden. And he does it with the indigenous Saami people, who are also have been historically maligned in Europe.
All right. For those of you who have just tuned in, we're speaking with Brother Eric Bashir, and he is discussing with us his graphic novel, Badin and the Secret of the Saami. And now, you said this is historical, and now you have some Swedish ancestry.
That's
correct?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. The graphic novel is historical fiction. So I am very much, adding a lot and changing things. But yeah, my mother is a child of, she's a second generation Swedish American. My father's African American. And I had the great opportunity to be in Sweden as a guest a couple years ago in 2013 to re-link my mother's family with lost relatives in Sweden. And it was a wonderfully moving experience. It was actually personally a very depressing experience because I experienced quite a bit of racism, mostly from Americans that I was with, but also talking with other Swedes. So this project is kind of birthed out of that experience, as well as some other things I've done.
All right. One of the interesting things is that there is a rich history of Africans in Europe and a rich history of blacks in Europe. In your research doing this book, did you come across any other historical figures?
All right. Well, the African presence in Europe is how can I say, it's like an emerging study for scholars all over the world, and the contributions of Africans in Europe is substantial, but a lot of it is buried, and a lot of it is buried in other languages. Hence Badin, his diaries in Swedish. So Badin happens to be one of the most significant of Scandinavian blacks because of his position that he was in, because when he died, he was in the noble class, despite what people want to say. They don't want to say he was a noble, but he was. You couldn't be a member of the Freemasons and not be a noble. You could not be a member of other secret societies and not be a noble. You are a significant individual when you die and you have this library of thousands of books. So there's many others. I can't name all of them off the top of my head, but they're there, and it's an incredible history. I encourage anyone to look at.
Well, what's fascinating is, and we'll get back into the book, but there's we have there's the Moors.
Yes.
There's actually the Moors in Spain. There's actually in Germany. There's a legendary figure. His name was Saint Maurice, and Maurice was actually an African man. And if you go to, I think it's in Bavaria, if you go to the church there, the Catholic church, there's actually a bust of him. This black man, Saint Maurice, and he was a soldier. Actually, he fought in Crusades.
Yes.
And then there's also in Russia, Pushkin, I believe his name was, who was of African descent. So there is this history of blacks being in Europe and the contributions they made. But, back to your book. Now, you did a lot of the artwork, and you also, you wrote the story. So was that pretty labor intensive?
Yes. So I did an outline, and then, which was big, and then I started to write the story. And the story took me almost a year to write with art direction. Didn't draw anything. Then I started drawing the characters, model sheets, and then I started sketching thumbnails. I had to do thumbnails for 90 pages. And then I had to do the artwork and the inking, and I finished the inking in August, and now I'm doing the coloring, which is such a relief. And we hope to have it released by May of 2017. But yeah, this was a process that has been very intensive, and I really hope it works out for the best.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. For those of you who just tuned in, we're speaking with Brother Eric Bashir. We're talking about his graphic novel that he wrote. It's beautifully drawn, and it's Badin and the Secret of the Saami. And what's nice about this is with all the comic book, films that are coming out, and now there's going to be Black Panther. He's going to get his own.
Yeah.
But what's nice though is the graphic novel seems to be the venue where a lot of figures of African descent get their. I mean, there's a really nice Malcolm X graphic novel that's out. There's another one, really nice one, Roberto Clemente. They're coming out with another one about Muhammad Ali. There's a real nice one about Toussaint Louverture. So it seems like this graphic novel medium is what people are using to get this history out there.
Yes.
Now, and this being historical fiction, it's a nice gateway to get people into actually studying about, my wife and I, we went and saw this cartoon. It was an animated feature. We actually saw it here on the campus of Northwestern. It was called Zarafa. And it's a very nice, it was a very nice cartoon, but it was about, and it was historical, and it was about a young man, the Sultan of Egypt. He sent a giraffe to the King of France to see if he would help him because Egypt was going to be invaded or taken over by the British, and a little African boy accompanied him. And so it was like, it's a nice, but this, animation and the graphic novel, it's becoming a nice medium for us to get our history out there.
I agree. And when people make the mistake and they say graphic novels are a genre, they're not. They're a medium, it fits in different genre. And when you use it to teach, it is so powerful. So my goal with this project, and I actually call it a graphic novel project because I've released mini sagas, so mini graphic novels leading up to the graphic novel. In fact, the first 3 of 4 are available, and I brought you the first 3 as a gift for inviting me.
Alhamdulillah.
So you have mini sagas 1 through 3, and the third one hasn't been published yet.
Okay.
It's going to be released, inshallah, in a week or two.
Inshallah.
And in these, you'll see in mini saga number 2, and this is very appropriate for your show. In mini saga number 2, I link the Arab Muslim world with Sweden.
Oh, wow.
And I do it in a way that links into the graphic novel because the mini sagas take place years before the graphic novel, you see. And I really want to blend it in and teach people about the indigenous people, teach about Swedish history, teach about black history,
All right. Can you read a little bit for us from the novel?
Well, it's not released yet. I would spoil it.
Okay.
But I will let you look at it. But I could read from one of the mini sagas.
Okay, yeah. If you could do that.
I could do that because those are already published.
All right. Okay. Great.
Let's take Traveler.
Okay.
And I shall read from the introduction.
Okay.
In the 10th century, international trade was heavily influenced by the Arab Muslim Caliphate in Baghdad. Trade routes were protected by their armies and allies. Even the mighty Vikings understood their limits in the Arab sphere of influence. One day, the Caliph hired a renowned citizen to embark on a journey into northern Europe. This person was not only prized for his social status and ability to learn languages swiftly, he was also known for his physical prowess and charisma. His name was Ahmed, son of Fadlan. Now, by the way, this was a real character. This was a real man in 10th century, and he did travel into Europe, northern Europe. Not as far as to Sweden, but I changed it a little bit. Eager to please the Caliph, Ahmed traveled to far out places to encounter people. Some were completely unknown to the Arabs. Others, such as the Saami forest dwellers, were legendary in their reputation. After doing business with the Muslim king of Volga, Bulgaria, curiosity about the Saami brought him to the wilderness of a region that would become the Kingdom of Sweden in another 200 years. leaving instructions for his Rus escort to meet back at the Baltic Sea in 2 months, Ahmed sought out and found the legendary people of the forest. While living among them, Ahmed learned much and made many dear friends. The night after his return to the Baltic coast before departing for Baghdad, he was kept awake with anxiety about what he documented in his journals. Early that morning, after washing and performing morning prayers, he gathered his journals and snuck out of the camp to do something about it. And then you'll see in the artwork what happens, and you'll see how this Arab Muslim deals with the Vikings in a very Muslim-like way. You'll be impressed.
Well, that's wonderful. You know, it's interesting because the Michael Crichton book, Eaters of the Dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That movie with Antonio Banderas was a big influence on me.
Yeah, that movie is based on a real.
That's the man, Ahmed Ibn Fadlan. That's the same one.
Well, thank you,
Thank you
so much for sharing with us the book, and again, give us that website if people are interested.
It is badinsecret.com.
All right. Well, we look forward to this book coming out, and again, it's this medium is so wonderful for us to get our stories out. And we just thank you so much for coming and coming on such short notice.
Man, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Right. No problem, brother. No problem. And then when the book comes out, we'll have you back again.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right. Okay. For those of you who have just tuned in, we had a wonderful conversation with a very wonderful brother, Brother Eric Bashir. He shared with us his wonderful story, Badin and the Secret of the Saami. And we thank him so much for being here. Up